Will Nintendo announce the much-anticipated Switch Online release of Golden Sun this week? Maybe, but I won't know because I'm currently on vacation at the beach. Instead of predicting what Nintendo will do, it's time to finally wrap up the Super NES library with the final 3 games that have not gotten the review crew treatment. I'm specifically talking about Smash Tennis, Mario Super Picross, and Panel de Pon, which you may also know as Tetris Attack. Sure, these games hit the subscription service years ago, but I still need to ask, are any of these games actually worth playing? To answer that question, I decided to flip through the pages of Electronic Gaming Monthly, Super Play, Computer and Video Games, and more classic magazines to see what the critics said back when these games first came out. So go and grab your thinking cap and get ready to deal with fallen blocks, because it's time for another puzzling episode of Nintendo Switch Online Review Crew.
Tetris, Dr. Mario. Tetris, Dr. Mario. Tetris, Dr. Mario. Tetris, Dr. Mario.
They're on one game pack, Tetris and Dr. Mario. It's twice as insane, only for Super NES.
I'm gonna kick your tail. No, I'm gonna kick your tail. No, I'm gonna kick your tail.
Ever since the earliest days of video games, tennis has been one of the easiest sports to replicate. Hitting a ball back and forth is simple to understand and the kind of fun that anyone can get into, even those who are not typically sports fans. Released in Europe in 1994, Smash Tennis builds on what everybody loved about Super Tennis by adding a 4-player mode and improved graphics. Believe it or not, this game's actually directed by Hideo Yoshizawa, who is probably best known for creating both Konoha and Mr. Driller, as well as working on everything from Ninja Gaiden to Ridge Racer Type 4. That's fun, but what about the reviews of Smash Tennis? Now, I suspect you won't be too surprised to hear that the lowest score came from Edge, who reviewed the game in their first issue under the name Super Family Tennis. While it's good, it, and any other tennis simulation on the Super NES, has the unenviable task of competing with Tonkin House's Super Tennis. But Super Family Tennis does have one distinct advantage. It allows a 4-player game. Super Family Tennis is a good, if not essential purchase, especially for multiplayer fans. But Tonkin Super Tennis is more playable and has added depth for 1 or 2 players. For what it's worth, Hyper agreed with a lot of the points that Edge brought up and gave the game a similar score of 76%. Both of these scores are in stark contrast with Computer and Video Games, which loved the game, going as far as to give it a high score of 90%. Smash Tennis is a fine game. The cute approach sets it apart, as does the illusion of a large play area, though there aren't enough different shots to cover the whole court unless you're playing it as a multi-tap game, which is a better option. What's so good, though, is the way the opponent responds to your improved skills, giving the game heaps of lastability. The control system is responsive enough to ensure that if you miss a shot, it's your fault. All in all, Super Tennis is probably a better game, but if you're looking for a 4-player tennis game on the Nintendo Switch Online, then it's Smash Tennis all the way. I like that we have a choice here. Now here's something fun. It's Mario's Super Picross, the 16-bit sequel to Mario's Picross on the Game Boy. While the handheld version may have found its way all around the world, the Super NES installment was a Japanese exclusive for more than a decade, when it eventually found its way to the Wii Virtual Console. Now it's back on the Nintendo Switch Online, which is a perfect home for a puzzle game just like this one. As with most games that don't make their way outside of Japan until much later, finding classic reviews for Mario Super Picross was a little tough. The truth is, I could only find one magazine that covered it when it first came out. That classic magazine was Super Play, who gave the game a score of 78% in their 39th issue. Yeah, it's addictive for quite some time, and it's tough to just tap into and start playing. But where it fails is that although the challenge naturally grows as you get further in, The gameplay remains exactly the bleeding same 100% of the time. You chip, 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 and then cross, cross, cross. Sooner or later, you become indecently good at it all. Far too good at it all. So good that you simply won't need to play it anymore. It's fun while it lasts, though. Look, personally speaking, I love the Picross series and most puzzle games like this. So I'm just happy to see that it appeared on the Nintendo Switch Online in one form or another. It may or may not be your thing, but definitely give it a chance. It's a great fit on the Switch.
Santa's working this summer because this just might be bigger than Christmas.
Might be.
It's the Tetris Attack Tons of Fun $1 Million Sweepstakes only at Blockbuster. All you have to do is go to Blockbuster Video, rent and play Tetris Attack. You'll get a free Super NES game rental plus a chance to win a Nintendo 64 Entertainment Center or many other prizes totaling up to $1 million for a free entry right to... Many will enter, fewer will win. See participating Blockbuster Video stores for details.
Ho, ho, ho.
There are a lot of great puzzle games on the Nintendo Switch Online service, and Panel de Pon is one of the best. Now, if that name doesn't sound familiar, you may know it as Tetris Attack. It's actually the start of the Puzzle League franchise, which would later connect with series as diverse as Pokemon, Dr. Mario, and even Animal Crossing. Released in late 1996, this Super NES puzzler was completely overshadowed by the launch of the Nintendo 64. Although it was technically part of the Tetris franchise, Panel de Pon has absolutely nothing to do with that Russian export. In fact, it's so different that the co-founder of the Tetris company has expressed regret giving Nintendo the license to use the name in the first place. Perhaps that's why Nintendo opted to upload the original Panel de Pon version on their online service. To get the broadest amount of opinions here, I'm pulling reviews from critics who both reviewed Panel de Pon and the rebranded Tetris Attack. Let's go ahead and start with Electronic Gaming Monthly, who actually scored the game a little bit higher than the original Tetris. Dan explained that I love well-made puzzle games, and Tetris Attack does not disappoint me one bit. Have you ever played one of those column-type games so much that you start visualizing the pieces in your mind when you're not playing? That's me. As I'm typing this, I want the words to fall to the bottom of the page and then fill their way upward. It's affecting my sleep as well. As I drift off into sleepland, I first match Tetris Attack pieces in my mind. I can't help it. It's that addictive. Sean also liked the game, but maybe not as much as Dan. From the title, somebody might think Tetris is fed up with being played all the time and now it's payback time. That's not the case at all. Instead, we're given yet another addictive puzzle game. The graphics are bright and cartoony, perfect for this game. I'm glad they replaced the fairies of the Japanese version with Super Mario characters in the US release. This adds more appeal to the game. Who doesn't love Mario? Electronic Gaming Monthly ultimately gave Tetris Attack an average score of 8.25 out of 10. Now that's pretty close to what we saw over at Nintendo Power, who gave the game a 4 out of 5 and complained that the puzzler might take over your life. Superplay liked it even more than that, giving it a 90%, which was enough to make it rank the magazine's 44th best reviewed Super NES game of all time. They concluded that the game is brimming with options, heady with playability, and steeped in challenge. This'll turn minutes into hours, hours into days. It's addictive stuff. If you're looking for an even higher score, then we need to check in with another British magazine, Computer and Video Games. Giving Panel de Pon an impressive 93%, Paul Davies once again beats that drum about its addictive qualities. That said, he started his review with troubling news. He feared that, barring a miracle, Nintendo would never bring the game to Europe. He argued that the UK is renowned for loving platform games and beat-em-ups. Oh, and we're fortunate enough to welcome the occasional RPG, too. But puzzle games? Forget it. Even when, as with Panel de Pon, you have a puzzle game equivalent of Yoshi's Island or even Killer Instinct. So I can tell you that the logic of this game is perfect, that it plays brilliantly. I can say that it has beautiful presentation to match, with typically excellent music in the Nintendo of Japan tradition. But it's no use. We showed you this game because it's interesting and worthwhile hunting down. Everyone else, just keep those fingers crossed. Thankfully, the game actually did come out in the UK as well as the United States under the name Tetris Attack. No matter what you choose to call it, now is your chance to see if this classic puzzler is as addictive as the critics say.
左右2つのパネルを入れ替えて3つ揃えばポンと消える同時消し連鎖消しでお邪魔パネルがポンと出る3連鎖5連鎖対戦プレイで熱くなるアクションパズルゲームスーパーファミコンソフトパネルでポン新発売パネルで
Hey, thanks for watching me break down these classic reviews. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new episodes just like this one every single time Nintendo adds new games to their online service. I also do this when they don't have anything to add, which might explain this episode. The good news is that we're finally done with the Super NES games. That's right, we finally covered all of them. Now all I need to do is recap a few more Nintendo Entertainment System games, and I'm going to have 100% of the Nintendo Switch Online library covered. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite 16-bit puzzle game? It doesn't have to be one of these games that we talked about today, so just go wild in the comments section. I mean, maybe not too wild, we're talking about puzzle games after all. In other news, we'll be back later this week with a recap of the Nintendo Switch Online in 2023. I'm going to be looking at the winners and the losers, plus a whole bunch of graphs. We're going to finally find out if last year was good or bad for the online service. Tune in then. While you wait for that, do me a favor and click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.